super deepest, pretty critical for this test. You know, knowing that your kidneys are going to be one of the deepest ones that you've got. You've got to remove, you know, if you cut somebody's abdomen, you're not going to see the spleen, you're not going to see the pancreas, you're not going to see your kidneys. So kind of understanding where you can find all this stuff. We do have a couple of free organs, just a couple that we'll show you. I mean, we have a shit ton more, but we don't need them in this class because I just feel like we just end up with lungs and stomachs and whatever else kind of running around. It's just kind of lame and just takes up a lot of space. But for this, I'll explain what this is and why I have this organ out, plus the liver, because we have some things under the liver that we can look at, the gallbladder and things like that. So the other one, we call this our digestive board. Little digestive dude, and he has seen better days, you guys. Oh my goodness. Like, I feel like we need to just glue this damn thing in here. Because his esophagus is rogue, and he just runs like it's terrible. He just does not cooperate. So this is our digestive board, okay? This does not show all of the internal organs, okay? You're missing the spleen, you're missing the kidneys, but this gives you the idea of the digestive system, which is gonna be the bulk of what the organs are that we're gonna be talking about. You can also use this to practice some of your respiratory system stuff. Okay, you've got your larynx, you've got the beginnings of your trachea, but now if you'll notice, we're kind of coming back here and hitting down the esophagus. We're gonna have to be able to find that in the mink as well as the trachea, which is pretty easy. You just cut up into the neck, you can see the rings of cartilage in the trachea, it's pretty awesome. Then your esophagus ends at your stomach. Okay, this organ that's got a lot of folds in it, for surface area increasing, but also so you can distend the stomach and expand it quite a bit. But you've got your digestive enzymes, your hydrochloric acid, and the more surface area you have, the more gastric pits you can actually have, and so the more of that you can make. And then this guy, the dark brown one that's off on the right-hand side, that is your liver. And notice the color. Okay, so the darker the organ that you can see, especially in a fresh cadaver, the darker the organ, the greater the blood flow. So spleen, liver, kidneys are gonna be some that are really super dark. While other stuff, it's not that there's no blood, there's just not as much. So they're lighter in color, a little bit lighter pink. So underneath the liver is the green sac. That's gonna be your gallbladder. So the purpose of your gallbladder makes bile that goes into your intestine to help you break down the lipids in your diet. Okay, so people that have problems with the gallbladder will oftentimes suffer from like bloating and gas and diarrhea because those lipids can't get broken down and they just go right up through your digestive system and it ends up making things yucky. Nobody likes that. Okay, I'm gonna take this guy off. That's part of your large intestine. I'll put him back on, but he's kind of obscuring some things here. So this little organ that's right under here, and in the meat, this is gonna be a tough one to find. I'll kind of tell you guys the best way to find it. The one that's under the stomach, right next to your intestines, that's your pancreas. That is an organ that you do not want to be messing with. Inflammation, which is pancreatitis, because you've got a lot of digestive enzymes that are coming out of this thing. And so if you inflame this guy, you're going to be releasing those digestive enzymes into your abdominal cavity. So then you'll start digesting up other parts of your body that you don't want to digest. So that's your pancreas. He sits just underneath the stomach, and he's going to secrete his fluid right at the beginning part of your small intestine. Okay, because what is the pH of things in your stomach? It's really acidic, like enough that it burns when it comes back up through your esophagus. Well, can you imagine how much it's going to burn if it actually comes out into your duodenum as well? So we have to quickly, very quickly, neutralize that acidic stuff that's coming out of your stomach. That is the job of the pancreatic juice and the bile. They both come together and empty right at the very beginning part of your small intestine. You guys do not have to know the separate pieces of your small intestine for this class. You will for 210 if you already know them, super great. But small intestine, that's all you have to know. Not named because it's short, because it's actually really long. It's the diameter that they're calling small. This is where the bulk of your absorption is going to be happening. Almost all of it is happening here. But you also have some digestion. You've got some enzymes coming out, because really, digestion involves taking something big and breaking it down into the microscopic nutrients, right? So you have to be able to absorb those through here. So all the internal structure of your small intestines is all about massive amounts of surface area. huge amounts. There's like 3 different levels. So you guys will cover that in the 210 class, especially in the lab section. So now from our small intestine, I'm gonna put him back on. Maybe. Hello. There it is. See the gray one? That's your large intestine. Now it's only about 5 feet long-ish, but the diameter, if you look, is so much bigger, okay? So now your large intestine is gonna kinda, sorta finish up some of the digestion, okay? But we're using bacteria to do the job, not enzymes anymore. They're gonna be, if there's any carbs that made it through, amino acids, protein, something like that, they'll kind of help take care of that for us. We're also gonna get some absorption, maybe of vitamins, maybe some ions, stuff that didn't get absorbed here. But ultimately, what the purpose of our large intestine is to collect stuff that's indigestible, cellulose of vegetables, things like that. And it's gonna collect, I'm trying to look down his intestines, down in this area. It's called the rectum, okay? And that rectum has stretch receptors associated with it. So that when you stretch to a certain point, it's gonna signal a reflex action. So we have 2 sphincters with urinary and digestive system, okay? You've got one that's involuntary and a set that's voluntary, okay? Takes you a while to learn how to do the voluntary ones, which is what potty training is all about, right? And then you lose control of those as you get older, so you kind of come full circle, really. But that involuntary is what lets you know that you have to go, and then you can choose either at that moment, yes or no, right? You do have some control over that. So 2 separate sets of sphincters. And it's actually sacral spinal cord is all. These reflex actions don't go to the brain. They go to the sacral spinal nerves and then right back out again. Because your brain doesn't need to worry about stuff like that. It's very easy, peristaltic. It's still part of your enteric nervous system, but you can just control whether or not that sphincter relaxes. And so all throughout your whole digestive system, you've got multiple sphincters. You have an upper esophageal, which is where you kind of get that transition from the voluntary swallowing to the involuntary contractions that are going to start to move things through the digestive system. That involuntary stuff is going to involve now secretion of hormones, so you start to get the digestive juices flowing. You don't want to do that if you're not actively eating a meal. That's kind of a waste of time and energy, right? So we get all these different sphincters. You have your lower esophageal, you've got the one between the stomach and the intestine, the pyloric, between small intestine, large intestine, that's going to be the ileocecal. So it gets a lot of sphincters. But if you just think about it, each of these portions of your digestive system is their own separate organ that has their own separate requirements for pH and enzyme content and bacterial. Like you wouldn't want the bacteria of your large intestine getting up in your small intestine necessarily, right? They're supposed to be kind of sealed off. So that is the purpose of the smooth muscle in your sphincters.